Combos are pretty cool. Combos are awesome, being the result of both the time put into labbing out sequences of moves input by input and your own intuition on the fly. However, with the improved mobility compared to Smash 4, the developers feared that people would have too much fun landing combos, and so naturally sought ways to minimize the enjoyment players would have. And so they give Luigi this move. I mean, it's awesome, really. Cyclone in Smash 4 was already quite a despised move, for good reason, being the cheesiest, all-around one of the most asshole moves in the game. So in Ultimate it was decided, let's make it the cheesiest, all-around one of the most asshole moves in the game, but as a combo breaker this time. Frame 1 invincibility. Characters with frame 1 tools aren't actually that rare when looking at the whole roster. But really, there's only 2 that are just much better combo breakers than the rest, since they're the only ones that have these 3 key traits. It needs to function in the air, because that's where almost all combos take place. Combos that at the very least don't slightly elevate someone off the ground are a rarity, and that's why Cyclone's frame 1 invincibility makes it such an obnoxious move not only to deal with, but having to consider it when going for certain follow-ups against a Luigi. It's crazy how much of a difference a simple 1 or 2 frames from the next fastest option makes. Keep in mind, most air dodges are already frame 2 or 3, and yet just because Cyclone is ever slightly faster, so many bread and butter combos just don't function. Also, keep in mind, this isn't even Luigi's only combo breaker.
Okay. My goodness!
The combo just like that!
So the frame 1 invincibility ensures it being an option in the air as a combo breaker. However, these two are kind of arguable. In this clip I was so close to doing something actually cool with Luigi and Cyclone just fails on me, like, why? If only I had mashed a little harder, I guess. The way characters go up while Luigi goes down can create a lot of inconsistencies that happen to certain characters more than others. If you Cyclone high up in the air while you're already descending, there is a decent amount of chance that people will just pop out of it. Now, a decent amount of this can be attributed to my mashing not being the best, but sometimes no matter how hard you mash, I feel like there's a chance that Cyclone just fails on you. There's also these 2 frames in between the invincibility and the hitbox coming out where just nothing happens, which is why Cyclone still manages to lose in some situations. Don't take all of this the wrong way though, compared to other combo breakers it's still an insane move. Cyclone is arguably the best combo breaker in the game, as most others also have their own much larger problems. And with just a few B presses, Cyclone should fully connect. Most of the time. But what about if it just misses completely? Surely you'd expect a frame 1 reversal option to have a significant window to punish, right? And yeah, it definitely does have one. In fact, over half of Cyclone is just end lag, which for a move that takes a total of 85 frames, that's a lot of time to punish. And at minus 40, it's not close to being safe on shield either. That's unsafe enough for every single character in the game to drop their shield and forward smash. Except King DDD and Ganondorf, because they suck. If you're still on stage while in end lag, there really is no way out of getting hit. But there is enough wiggle room to where you can almost always position yourself in a way where your opponent has to settle for a lesser punish. And if you're close to the ledge, depending on the character you're fighting, you cannot get punished at all, allowing you to be really annoying at the ledge with some perhaps Wi-Fi exclusive garbage. Really, in whatever state of the game you're in, you can probably find a reason to use Cyclone. Getting comboed, needing to land, ledge coverage, getting off the ledge, just Cyclone. Are you in a last hit scenario for an extended period of time and is the tension too much for you to handle? Just randomly throw out a Cyclone and pray that your opponent just waltzes into it. Having a decently sized hitbox around you that is able to power through most other moves in the game tends to be pretty versatile. But in my opinion, the most fucked up part of Cyclone is entirely disconnected from its invincibility. Specifically about the way Cyclone can kill, as it's a part of the duo of DI check minigames made by Satan himself. Now, DI, or Directional Influence, is actually quite a nuanced mechanic. Just know that the way you hold your stick affects the knockback you take when getting launched, and in turn makes you live longer or shorter depending on your DI being good or bad. Both of these moves sent at comparable angles. vertically while just being slightly left or right depending on the way you got hit. So the directional influence you need for these moves is down and away from Luigi/Rob. But what direction is away going to be? Left or right? With Rob, you're directly above him while he's up airing you, making it often visually unclear which way you need to DI. Here you can see how Rob up air almost sends the DK straight up, meaning he DI'd wrong, causing him to die earlier than needed. Here, that same Donkey Kong DIs correctly and you can clearly see the difference in launch angles. Cyclone's launch angles are pretty much similar to this, but figuring out how to DI it is a bit different. With Luigi, it's the opposite. When getting cycloned, you tend to be at the same height Luigi is at, so you're always going to be on a certain side of him. So if at the last hit of cyclone you're left of Luigi, you're going to need to DI down and left. But the problem is that the side you're on can switch in such a small window that it can be pretty much unreactable. Another good example is this set of Reflow against Luigi, where the cyclone just turns into a mush of green and VFX with Palutena being on the left side, and then ending up on the right 8 frames later when the final hitbox comes out. Reflow can't react and ends up dying to down throw cyclone at 60. A funny thing about this is saying had he DI'd down means he would have lived regardless of which way he was being sent, unless Luigi happened to have inhuman mashing, and I agree with that. Had he only DI'd down instead of guessing the wrong direction, it's likely he would have lived in this scenario, meaning he partially killed himself. But the difference between dying with incorrect DI and dying with only DI down is only a few percent and hard to quantify. In fact, at 67%, which is only 0.3% later, I can get Cyclone to start killing pretty often. Not to mention, there are all of these other variables at play. Okay, I'm at 66 and Luigi's at 150, which means a 1.10 rage multiplier. Also, we're playing on Lilac because France is a weird country, so low blast zones and different elevation levels. Also, can the Luigi mash be hard enough to make Cyclone kill optimally? So then the question becomes, do you want to test your game knowledge and on-the-fly thinking on whether or not DIing down means you'll get to live guaranteed, or will you just take the 50-50 guess? Good luck. Seriously? Good luck. Now, even though I said 50-50 a couple seconds ago, with enough experience, you'll start to know how Cyclone works. Perhaps you can start DIing correctly 60% of the time, or 70%. So thankfully, Cyclone has a secret third hitbox. A hitbox that actually makes the odds 0 to 100, aka always in Luigi's favor. And thankfully for everybody else, it fucking sucks. This is Cyclone's middle hitbox. It is the strongest of the three due to the launch angle being essentially straight up instead of leaning to the side. But sadly for us oh so poor, easy to sympathize with Luigi players, there is a huge asterisk that comes with that. And that is that it will almost never connect, due to it having a lower priority than the other hitboxes. What this means is that if a character's hurt box is in both the middle hitbox but also in one of the side hitboxes for even a small fraction, the side hitbox will be the one dealing knockback, making it pretty much impossible to connect on any of the not super small characters. It's so rare, it's not something I ever keep in mind while playing the game, even though it kills effectively as early as someone DIing one of the side hitboxes incorrectly. So just know that if by some miracle you get launched at a suspiciously vertical angle despite you thinking you DI'd Luigi's Cyclone correctly, that's just the game figuring out another way to tell you to go fuck yourself. Oh yeah, and as far as the win box goes, this is the only thing you need to see.